Here's a deer toenail rattle. I know you're probably looking at it, but I want you to take this finger that has pointed and prejudged and made fun and put it where it belongs, right here in your chin. And I want you to say, that's different. Say it. Put your thumb up and say, and that deserves respect. Say it. And that deserves my understanding. These rattles are made from deer toenails, and these rattles are very precious because they're used in the funerals. And they're played all night long. And it's, I got permission from my tribe to bring them so I could show it to children. So this is special to us. You know, our music in California is so different than what you probably see on television. Because we see the drum, don't we? We see the drum, but in California we don't have the drum. We have flutes and whistles and clapper sticks and rattles. So this one right here is very special. And I'm going to sing one of our songs for your son. And this song is one of the oldest songs that we have. It's a song that was sung around the mission, and they found a Pueblo skirt, which is a holy man's skirt, and Ray Bellardus got about 100 of our people, and we sung it around the mission. Now, I'm going to use this one. Now you clap your hands. Oh, wait a minute. I think there might be a few people that might want to help me. Maybe play a clapper stick. You don't have to come up here. In fact, Jared, if you'll just pass them out, I need some help. Boys, they're going to come around, Josiah. If you want to use our clapper stick, just say your seat, and you'll keep the rhythm with me, okay? Good practice. Oh. This is Josiah, and this is Jared. These are my grandsons. And then raise your hand if you want to touch and feel something wonderful and keep the rhythm of your heart. You don't get to go home with it because I recycle them for every school, but you get to touch it for today. Eddie, get one. Jeepers. Bring Eddie one. All right, so you're going to follow me. And you're going to sing after me. It's kind of like I'll sing, you'll sing, I'll sing, you'll sing. And then, thank you, Jared. Oh, here, get ready to sing. And I mean, you get to hear what California sounds like. All right. Okay. So let's see if we can get some rest. Acjachemen Heritage, Acjachemen Heritage, Acjachemen Heritage, Acjachemen Heritage, Acjachemen Heritage, Acjachemen Heritage. Now, for a bunch of people that live in Bakersfield, they came to a library, and it's kind of like a nice afternoon. You already sing louder than that. Let's try it again. Here we go. Acjachemen Heritage, 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 Acjachemen Heritage. Oh, 1, 2, 3, stop. All the ladies go like this. And men, you end the song like this. Try it, guys. And when you hear that, the song is finished. And you just kind of got a glimpse of my sister over there kind of dancing. Our dances were just kind of like that. It's very simple, but you know, it's beautiful. And when you see 100 of us, you know, dancing with our clapper sticks is really beautiful. Just keep your clap stick for a little while because there'll be another song that we're going to sing together, okay? Beautiful. So our music was different, and what was so beautiful back in the day is that everyone had a purpose. Today, don't you think maybe that's what's going on in the world? The children haven't found their purpose. And I heard of the senator that just recently passed away. He said there's pain, there's pain and purpose. And you know, we had pain. Our people had pain. My mother had pain. My mother lived in San Juan Capistrano. I grew up in the oldest home in California. It's called the Rio Sedovi. And Vinny, I'm pointing you out again only because her family and my family, there's 7 core families. And she represents one, I represent another. And actually you're related to us a little bit in the Rios as well. But the house that I grew up in was made out of adobe. And has anyone ever seen an adobe house that's ever been lived in? I mean, they've got some around. But ours is the oldest. And the street that is named after my family is called Los Rios Street. And it's in San Juan Capistrano. And when my mother was 7 years old, the diocese had a very different idea. But they wanted to take all the Indian children and put them in boarding schools. So when she was 7 years old, her mother was away in San Pedro working because they were always looking for jobs, and my great-grandmother was taking care of my mother. And when the diocese came, and there was a few nuns and a priest, and they went in the house, and when they came out, they told my uncle and my mother, "You'll be leaving. Here's your bag." And my mother looked at her hands and her arms, and she said, "If I wasn't so dark, they wouldn't have taken me." And she walked away just feeling so lost that why would her grandmother give her up? She must be ugly because she's dark. And her one older brother had blue eyes. And she said, if I only had blue eyes, maybe they wouldn't have taken me. And she went to a boarding school in Banning, California, which is a long ways from Capistrano. And when she got there, the nuns cut her hair and they searched for the lice. And what do you think she thought of herself? That she was a filthy little Indian girl. And she cried. And she had a brother, and the brother, his name was Danny, and they were never going to be able to talk to each other. They weren't allowed to, at mealtime, the boys were on one side, the girls were on the other. Some way, somehow, they made this plan that if they couldn't talk to each other, they were going to go like this, and they would hide their hands. They'd go like this. And that meant, I love you. And so while they were there, my mother was there for 4 or 5 years, she never talked to her brother. And she went like that, and she'd hide her hands because if the nuns saw her communicating with her own brother, she would get, beaten. And so they would go to, sometimes they go they walk through the town and they go to the movies, but Indians could only go to the movies once a month. And they could not go through the front door. There were other races of people in our history that also had to go through the back door, that also were treated inhumane. And there's one, my hero as a teacher was Dr. Martin Luther King, who really changed this country by demanding in a very godly way that we are humans. My mother was a human being. She could have walked through that front door, but they said, no, get through the back door. And when she went through the street, she remembers walking and the store owners opening the door and going, you dirty little Indian. My mother never told me this story until I was 17 years old. But my mother was a very hard woman. She never gave us a lot of acknowledgement. All I ever wanted my mother to do, all my life, was just to say, I love you, and touch my face. That's all I wanted. But my mother didn't know how to do that. And my mother was very abusive to me and my sisters, and my mother never encouraged me. My mother used to tell me, I hope you don't think you know how to sing. Well, I thought I could sing. And this little Indian girl sang the national anthem at the Angel Stadium. But it wasn't because my mother encouraged me to sing. My mother was so hurt by her being taken and then saying really horrible things to her that she didn't know how to say good things to me. I loved her. She was bright and she was the life of the party, but inside our home she didn't know how to love. So I guess that's why I became a teacher, I'm not sure. And I was always that loving teacher, you know, because I was like, I know what it's like, I wanted to be hugged too. You know, I never told the kids that, but I always hug kids a lot. Don't forget this for Pete, right? So there's pain in our history. And it's not just the Acjachemen, or the Chumash, or the Serrano, for all of the tribes. In fact, I bet most of you don't know that there's 117 tribes in California. But the state of California, in the educational system, only teaches 6. 6! What happened to the other, 106 or, 109? But I have been working extensively with the state of California and other, universities to try to tell a truer story. To tell a story that, building the missions, it wasn't us embracing a culture. Can you imagine that someone came to you today and said, everything that's precious to you, we're digging a big hole and it's going in the ground.
Great.
And then you had to learn a different language. Can you imagine what Spanish sounded like to a people like me when we spoke our language so beautiful, but we couldn't speak that. Instead, my people had to learn Spanish, and that happened to all California Native Americans. So to me, I said, it must have sounded like this. Now you learn that. I mean, I can't even imagine the transition of what that must be like. But we are survivors, and we're thrivers. And there's been a resurgence of pride that's never been before in the last 35 years. I'm very grateful that, I started as a teacher in the classroom, and when this happened with my children and they were made fun of, I began to be a voice for our people. And I have told stories to more than 400,000 children because I go to schools every single day, and I've done it for 27 years. And I feel like I found my place. My sweet friend here, what is your name again? Evelyn. She said, all that girl does is smile. I told her, I said, if she sees me on Facebook, I go, I'm so happy with all these kids when they come in. What I pray for everybody that's come here today, and I don't care what your age is.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I'm a father of boarding school.
You went to boarding school?
12 years.
12 years. Would you like to speak to that for just a moment?
I did it because it's in the 30s, just like your mother.
Yes.
It's a depression. There was no place to go. So they put me, only child. My mom put me in boarding school because there was no place. The government fed us, took care of us. We lived there for 9 months of the year. So I know what you're talking about.
And what we hear in California is that on the East Coast, where your people are kind of it was like the only good Indian is a dead Indian.
We were part of missionary.
Yeah. Presbyterian, yes. And on our end, we said, we will, on this end, it was just like we've got to bring the man up and take the Indian away. It was like there was nothing precious about who we were as Native people. So our stories are sad, and some of them are joyful because we have our songs, and we're still here, and we're still singing our songs. And so I want to tell a story about a basket weaver because we were fine. Did everybody get a chance to put some love into that basket?
That's how it
It hasn't come through this side, but it's coming. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story about a basket weaver. Okay. And I'm going to put it over there so they can see that. Okay. Yeah, let them pass it around. Yeah. A long time ago, in the village of Acjachemen, there lived a woman that was more beautiful on the inside than she was on the outside. And we know when someone says they're beautiful on the inside, we think about those values and we say, oh, she's kind, she's loving, she's forgiving, she's helpful. And that's really beautiful. But the people in the village, they didn't see that. This is what they said. Ah, look at her. She'll never get married. Ooh. But that woman was a fine basket weaver. And one day, she made a basket and she sang a song. And she sang the song like this. Natui, yo, well, to didariva, ichema, yo, poi, yo, ahanwaya, hi, ile, cello, ya, mi poi. And she blew the song into the basket. Then she lifted this basket up and she said, Creator, I made this basket and I gift it to you. And if there's a good man out there, would you bring him my way? And she put the basket in the river and it went down the river. Well, it lodged by a big willow. And there was a man up on the hill and he was gathering some wood. But did you notice that her prayer asked for a good man? She didn't ask for a handsome man. She asked for a good man. And that man, he was more handsome on the inside than he was on the outside. But he heard her song. And he came down that mountain and he said, there is something beautiful happening at this very moment and I want to see what, I hear a song, not to you, and he picked it up, he said, oh, there's a song inside this basket is beautiful. Well, I must find the man. I must find the woman who made this basket. But because he wasn't handsome on the outside, the woman wouldn't even talk to him. He went to the first woman, he said, excuse me, I found this basket in the river. Did you make this basket? And she said, ah! And she walked away. And he went to the next woman, he said, excuse me, I found this basket. Is this your basket? It's beautiful. She says, oh, and walked away. And then he finally went to the woman that was more beautiful on the inside than she was on the outside. And he said, excuse me, did you make this basket? And she said, why, yes, that is my basket. Oh, this basket is beautiful. Every stitch is perfect. Oh my goodness. Oh, let me see your hands. And she put out her hands. She said, oh, your hands make such a beautiful basket. And she turned to him and she started to cry. And he said, woman, what's wrong? No one has ever been so generous with such kind words. Om Palov, which means thank you. He said, did you sing the song that was in the basket? She said, yes, that was my song. Oh, it was like the river. It was like the birds. Oh, you have a beautiful voice. What did she do next? She didn't cry. She looked at him and said, oh, oh, Palov. And then he said, may I make you a fire? And she looked at him and she said, Om Palov. And he built her a fire and they talked and talked and talked until the sun went down and the stars came up and there was so much to talk about. Those stars in the sky, and by the time that the morning star came, he looked at her and he said, You are the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful woman I have ever met. And yes, they got married. And they lived in Acjachemen. And after 10 years, they had 13 children. A couple twins in there. But what they taught their children was this. The beauty on the outside floats away down a river. Real beauty comes when you develop the things of the heart, like generosity and kindness and love and forgiveness. And when you do that, you will stay beautiful and handsome for the rest of your life. And I'm going to say ho, and you're going to say hey. Ho! Hey! And that's the end of our story. Since I have a couple of children here, I'd love to bring them up because I'd like to show you the kind of games that we played. So how about this little guy and this little girl right here? Would they come and help me? Maybe, yeah? You want to try to do this? You can hold that. You can put that. Okay, come over here. You have to stay with me though. Okay? And then I need a big girl. How about the flower skirt? Can you come? Oh, we have this little one too. Okay, she can come. All right. Okay, come on. We'll see. We'll see. Come on over. You can stand with me. You can stand with her too. So she's a little nervous, so that's all right. We don't want. Our real ring toss was this small. It was the top of an acorn. But for my friends, I made it bigger. So would you like to come right over here and let's see? I'll show you how to do it. Down here.
Francisco.
Come on, Francisco, you're beautiful. I like your voice. Come on, Francisco. Come on, Mama, you come with them, maybe. Francisco, come on. You got another one. Yes, you did. Francisco, I'll help you. Okay, I got him all shy. He heard his voice so loud. How about the girl with the beautiful blouse on? And we'll see if the little one can come too. We'll see. We'll see. They're a little young. Come on, baby. You're doing great. Look what you're going to do. You're going to swing it up and try to catch it on the stick. Okay. So we'll maybe have to get the bigger kids. But that's okay. They will play the clapper stick, so that's good. I can't even get it today. Usually I'm pretty good at this. All right. All right, Francisco, you did great. I will give it to you. And let's get the sister hands. There we go. Can we get the other one though, so we'll have competition? Maybe use the hands. There we go. Can you imagine what it's like when I go to preschools? It's always a challenge, but I love it. I was a preschool teacher for many years too. So, all right. So we're gonna, this is impossible. In my 27 years, I got it on here 4 times. And you have to turn it this way. Wouldn't that be something if you were the 5th? Okay, so you have 3. You're gonna try to get your ring on the stick. And I'm gonna try to get this little acorn top on the stick, okay? So here we go. But we'll do it in my language. Everyone say sepul. Hue. Bahay. All right, swing it up. I didn't get it. She got it. Very good. Oh, almost. Oh, good try though. One more time. Oh, there she goes. Give her a big hand. Thank you, girls, for demonstrating that. Wonderful.